This is ContactTalkRadio.com. Consciousness in action. And you are taking action into your consciousness by tuning into Contact Talk Radio.
And on TuneIn.com, Ping.fm, and UpSnap Mobile.
Contact Talk Radio.
Welcome to Life Mastery with Todd Allen, the talk radio show that dives into the science of higher consciousness. Join Todd and his guests weekly at 10 a.m. Pacific Time and learn how to live a peaceful life with intentional mastery. Enjoy a survey of inspiring topics such as abundance, intention, health, manifestation, love, and transformation. It's all right here. Leading authors, speakers, coaches, entrepreneurs with stories and messages to support your well-being, let alone your most evocative dreams.
Hey, it's another groovy day, and that's because it's Life Mastery Radio Day, my favorite day. I get to hang out with Jackie, and I get to hang out with some really, really cool people that have some great thoughts and ideas for us to check out, plant some seeds in our brain, and take it or leave it if you like. But that's the whole idea behind Life Mastery Radio, is to provide you with thoughts and ideas for you to use on your very own life mastery journey. And it's a groovy day because I started out my day with it being groovy. When I got up, I decided it was all going to be groovy. Anything else that happens today might try to change that. But all I have to do is think, nah, when I started, it was all groovy, so it's going to end all groovy. And whatever happens, I just deal with it and move on and have a happy, happy day. Right, Jackie?
Sure. Absolutely. It's all about mindset, right?
It's about mindset and remembering you started out a groovy day. As always, before we get started, I like to get myself centered and situated and organized and ready for some great discussion and get to hang out with good friends and great guests. And I do that by first thinking about what it is that I connect to that gives me power. It could be God, it could be Allah, it could be the dude, it could be the tree outside of your window, whatever it is. Think about that for a minute and let's take in a deep breath. And then I like to let that breath out with just a big ah, and think about what it is I connect to. Ah. This time, let's do that again, but let's think about our dreams, visions, and goals. What is it that you aspire to be, do, or have? What is it that you're setting out to do? What is it that you want to accomplish? Think about that, anchor it in your mind, taking a deep breath. And then another big and just let those thoughts and ideas roll right up out of your speaker box and out to the universe. And for sure now, here's the deal. Allow the universe the opportunity to make those come true. Hi, Jackie. Your eyes were closed. I saw it. That was cool.
They were closed for a minute until you started glitching. Then I had to open up to see what was
going on. Am I still glitching? Well, yeah. You just keep me posted. I think I've shut everything down and I think my Wi-Fi is okay, although I am direct drive into the router, so I'm not sure why that does that. But how are things in Jackie's world?
Pretty good. You know, lots of transition happening, lots of things going down. Summer's winding down and getting ready for fall classes with the kiddos and making a big move to be closer to the studio. We're getting rid of a lot of stuff because we're going from a 3-bedroom home to a 1-bedroom apartment in a high-rise apartment building. And so it's going to be a real change of pace for my husband and I, but it's an adventure and it'll be fun. It'll be nice to just be really close here to my studio so that I can walk home every day.
So that's a really cool spiritual process, is to get rid of your stuff. Are you running into roadblocks, or are you just like pulled the dump
We have a lot of pictures. I'm finding that we have a lot of framed pictures and stuff. And I'm thinking, well, maybe I just need to take these pictures out of all these frames that we have, donate the frames, but we still have the pictures because we haven't had them on the walls for a while. So it's like, why do we still have all these pictures framed? So that's been my big project over the last couple weekends, is going through pictures, which ones we want to keep, which ones really, like I look at my kids and their prom pictures and things, and I'm like, should I do this or not?
Mm-hmm.
Should I keep this? Should I give it to them? Are they going to want them? And my daughter has this pretty large porcelain doll collection that, since she's been married now for, 14, 15 years, she's never had at her house because her husband doesn't like them. So she says, yeah, it's probably time to sell them, Mom. So try to sell her porcelain dolls and kind of pare down on that. So
Aww.
Anyhow, that's what we're working on. But like I said, it's a good feeling to not have so much stuff and to simplify a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had to simplify like that, Angela?
I have. Absolutely. I know exactly all about simplifying. So I actually had to move to an apartment too, and it was a 2-bedroom apartment. And at that time, my daughter and we had to share a bedroom. While I gave my son his only bedroom. But yeah, when you go through a divorce, which I did, years ago, and I went from a house, and then we had to, downsize. But it gave me a chance to really build more of an intimate relationship with my children. And even at that time when I couldn't afford cable, my kids and we actually just sat in the living room and we really connected on a much deeper level because we spent that quality time together like so many of us tend to forget because we're so busy with either building a business or, at work 40 to 60 hours a week. So we tend to forget that, and eating dinner with your children. We tend to forget that maybe your child wants to eat dinner in the living room because he doesn't want to miss his cartoon show or something, right? And then we're off eating dinner someplace else. So that I miss those days because now my kids are older. My older son, he's going to be 25 this year. And then my daughter's going to be 20. They've moved on. They have their own place now. Right. But I am still quite lucky because I still have my little Grayson with me, who just turned 8 in January. So yeah, I think downsizing is a wonderful thing because you can get that quality time that you've been missing. Yeah. And if your children are no longer there, more quality time with your husband.
There you go. No, we had an experience like that once. Our television broke. It actually broke when our kids were quite young. And so we were like, oh, this is going to be horrible. It's kind of like our babysitter, It
is. We use it that way all the time.
Yeah. But like you said, we started reading together and playing together and going on walks and things like that. And we had this blissful month, maybe even up to 6 weeks of time when we did not have a television set, and we did not care anymore to ever have a television set. And then one day, my husband's parents, my in-laws, come over with this brand new TV set. Oh, and then it didn't take much time for us to just be like, looking at the television again. So anyway, hey, Todd, are you with us?
I don't know. Am I still glitching? Am I stable?
You're
stable
good.
Now. You seem to be okay. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, ladies, for covering for the show. I want to remind our listeners that today's show page is at www.lifemasteryradio.net, and any links that we talk about today on the show will be posted there. We have a link for our guests there already. And while you're on the website, go visit it. Please go visit it. You can sign up for our newsletter. Jackie puts out a newsletter every week that talks about who's been on the show, who's coming on the show, and she writes a blog post about the show. Oh, look, I have a little visitor. Want to see Major Cuteness?
Yes.
There he is.
Aw.
There he is. Hi, buddy.
Hey,
That's Lil Rook.
Hey,
And
Rook.
little Brooke.
Little Rook, and he wants to,
So cute.
I think he wants to hang out for, oh, nope, he's just visiting. Hi, Rook.
He's camera shy.
Okay, Jack, are you ready to officially light this candle? Let's talk about this. Our guest today is Angela Pearson, and she is an American author of the inspirational children's book, I Am Not Contagious, which navigates a universal topic about vaccinations. Her youngest son, who is healthy yet never been vaccinated, can no longer receive a public or private education and was banned from attending his public school. With no alternative, Angela left her corporate career to homeschool her son. She stands firm on her beliefs and continues to fight for the Constitution and medical rights for all. I Am Not Contagious is a children's book, and it's a story about a healthy little boy named Grayson who is bullied by society and banned from all private and public schools. Yet his compassionate propels an authentic desire to influence change on how he viewed unvaccinated children. His comedic perspective serves whimsical, and you will be inspired as you experience life and his situation through his eyes. Angela, welcome to the show. How am I doing, Jackie? Am I still unstable?
Yeah, a little bit.
Uh-oh. Did we miss a lot of that? Well,
Not a
welcome.
lot of it.
Yeah,
but
no.
we missed a little bit of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome, Angela. How are you today, my friend?
Thanks, Todd. I'm good. I'm good. That was a nice
So-
intro.
We need to preface it just a little bit because things have changed since this book came out. Can you update us a little? I mean, things, well, for one, you no longer have that governor
I know.
that you talked about in your book.
But we did gain, an evil stepsister belonging to Nancy Pelosi. So I'm not quite sure where this is going to lead us, at least until the next election. So we'll see.
So take us
Now-
back to the beginning then, Angela. When did this book actually come out, though?
So I actually wrote this book pre-COVID. So when I
Really?
was,
Oh, wow.
pre-COVID.
That makes a lot of sense because like I had said, things have changed a little bit and things
A
are
lot.
dynamic and things are going to evolve. And so, yeah, take us back to when.
A lot. So my son has always gone to school his entire life. He went to toddler school. He went to preschool, kindergarten. So first grade was like the start of being a big kid. Us parents, we get super excited. We cheer our children on. We get them pumped up for school. So, we tell our kids, you're going to be a big kid now. You're going to the first grade. This is amazing. But then when the talk and the speculation that summer with Governor Cuomo was, the removal of religious exemption, which a religious exemption was what allowed me to bring my kids into the school system because my oldest daughter was not vaccinated and my oldest son was partially vaccinated. And I'll get into that a little bit later, which led me down my holistic journey with my older son. But my son Grayson, he knew that he wouldn't be able to attend or at least finish the first grade in his public school. I did have a sit down with him. I did explain that to him. I did tell him that he would only have 14 days in the public school system for the year 2019. But he was okay with it because he was such a super social person and he loved making new friends. But I was actually hoping that I would gain a medical exemption for him because my older son did have an adverse reaction to a vaccine in his first year of life, which led him, which actually put him in the hospital for 3 days.
So that was kind of a scary thing. That experience put this alternative thought or this fright into your mind.
Absolutely. It gave me, it allowed my mind to be more open to other alternatives, right? because that was a scary moment for me. I was a young mother when I had my first child. I was, just 17 years old. And regardless if you're 17 or you're 42, we're taught and we're brainwashed to believe that doctors know it all, that they know what's best for us. They know what's best for our children. We're brainwashed into thinking that. And that's just nonsense. I think that's reckless. And we have to, as parents, we know what's best for our children. And we have to take more responsibility and accountability, if you will, and start doing our own research so that we can become more informed, not just on vaccine ingredients, but on everything, the food that we put into our bodies, where we're going to live, the type of environment that we want our children to live in and thrive in, or the type of schools that we want our children to go to. And vaccines are no different. We have to take better control and just be more hands-on, and don't be afraid to ask those questions and have that sit down with our doctors. But with Grayson, because he's always been in the school system, he's always been around other children, he knew that he would only have 14 days to say goodbye. So while I was trying to get him a medical exemption, I was also trying to find someone who could possibly help me homeschool him so that I could, maintain my career. That didn't happen, and I was okay with that. I don't regret leaving my career. I spoke to, my district manager at that time, and I let her know exactly what was happening. And I told her that if I couldn't find someone, that I would be leaving, because they knew my stance as well. But I left my career, and I knew I always wanted to get involved in real estate. So I actually went to a 3-day boot camp after I left my career in Miami, Florida. I went to this real estate event, but where I went, I don't know, something just didn't feel right. Something just didn't sit right with me. So on the plane ride home, I had this epiphany, and I was sitting between two large men. I'm just kind of like sitting here in the middle. And I had my notepad from the real estate event. I had my pen. And, I just remember thinking back to when I was a child. I didn't have a voice. My dad was very, very strict. Kids were seen and not heard. Even at the dinner table, where you would have like an open conversation with your children. It wasn't like that for me. We were not allowed to speak unless we were spoken to. So if my parents didn't ask us a question, we were not allowed to speak. Now, we were always yes, ma'am, no, sir, yes, sir, and all that fun stuff, which is great mannerisms. I'm from the South, so that's just kind of what you do as you respect your elders. But at the same time, there has to be some boundaries, because we're taught that when I was growing up, that adults are always right, kids are never right, kids are wrong. So I'm a mother now, and I always said that that's not the kind of upbringing that I want for my children. So when I was on that plane coming home from Miami, those are the thoughts that were coming through my head. Those were, it was like a whirlwind of thoughts and my past and those flashbacks and everything. And I was just like, what am I doing? What am I doing? If I'm not going to be a voice for my own children and do everything that I can, then what is my purpose? You know what I mean? Money is nothing. Money means absolutely nothing if you're not living for your children and if you're not amplifying their voice and teaching them along the way. And that was, I grabbed my pen, I grabbed the paper, and I wrote the children's book on the plane ride home. Wow. Before I even before I even landed. So all the questions that my son had, they started coming to me. And the questions that he asked were, why can all of my friends go to school, but I can't? Another question would be, why can I go to the park and play with my friends, but I can't go to school with my friends? Mm-hmm. Or why can I go to gymnastics and be around all of my friends, but I can't go to school with my friends? these are all valid questions. And, it's confusing for me, even as an adult. You have children who are being told because they're not vaccinated that they can't go to school, but yet they can play with the same children in other areas, such as the park or gymnastics or the YMCA or wherever. So it doesn't make any sense. So he's completely right. So that is how the book was born. It was written in 2019, but then COVID hit in March 2020, as you guys already know. My book was put on hiatus. I had hired some people to help me because I knew that I wanted to write a book. I just wrote it. I just didn't know what to do next. And I actually hired a guy out of India to help me with the illustrations. And India got hit really hard, and we lost connection with him for quite a long time. And so we had to finish the illustrations without him. So it was quite the roller coaster, but we made it through. And so here I am promoting I Am Not Contagious. So as you can see, I Am Not Contagious, the title of the book, can be and seem somewhat controversial, especially now with COVID.
Yeah.
But it was actually based on vaccinations that were not COVID related prior to that. So did they change the rules then sometime as Grayson got into first grade then? Did they somehow change the rules so that they weren't going to accept medical exemptions? Is that what happened?
Yeah, so, to be fair, they make it very, very difficult for doctors to write a medical exemption to parents. And as you guys probably already know, even you see a lot of doctors who come out and who are, they have their science behind childhood vaccines. Any doctor or any scientist who speaks out, regardless of their credibility or not, they are ostracized in the medical community and they are censored. And now if you look at what's happening with these COVID experimental injections, you have doctors and scientists and virologists speaking out against them, warning people about taking these. And they too are being ostracized in the medical community, and they're being censored. Now, science is science, and that's what we believe in. I definitely believe in science, but the only science that's being played out is only to one narrative. If it's not to the narrative in which the pharmaceutical companies are going to be making a ton of money, then they don't care about science. And I think that's really, really sad, especially now because there's been more deaths related to these COVID experimental injections than any other vaccine out there in the whole history of over the course of 20 or 30 years, I believe. I mean, right now we are up. And again, this is only going according to the VAERS reporting system, which is, those who don't know what VAERS is, it's the Vaccine Adverse Reporting System. So far to date, there's been 12,300, just over 12,300 deaths related to just the COVID experimental injections. And we have to remember that that's only 1 to 10% that are reported. That means we have about 90% that go unreported. And this is something that is being suppressed by the mainstream media. It's being suppressed by our own government, which is medical tyranny. And but I think a lot of people are starting to wake up. I think a lot of people, especially parents, are going to start, asking more questions, even related to childhood vaccines. And I think that's the direction that we want to go. But I'm not quite sure how much worse it's going to get before it gets better.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of one viewpoint of this all. And just like you, because of everything that's going on, you are finding solace in becoming more informed. Where before, I think people were just like robots acting and reacting to what they were being told. And now I think a lot more people are waking up, especially parents. And it's not just with COVID, it's with many, many other things that they're getting more involved. And I think that is the huge benefit of all of this. If there is a good thing to look for, and that would be one.
Absolutely. I think even with the mask wearing, the school curriculums that are being brought to the school systems today, I think this is definitely bringing about more awareness in almost everything. I'm certainly glad, when things happen for a reason, like we're put in situations not to be punished, but we're put in those situations to learn critical life lessons, so that not to keep those life lessons to ourselves. I think so many of us do that because either one, we don't want the attention, or two, they just, don't want to share their own experiences. But I think the beauty about going through any type of trial and error or tribulations in our life, we want to share those experiences with other people so that we can educate them, so that we can help them. So, I mean, that's how you build unity. Don't keep those horrible experiences to yourself. If you can learn from them and help other people grow from them as well. And so I couldn't be more happy that I think Grayson being banned from private and public schools, I couldn't even get him into a Montessori school, okay?
Wow. Because
they don't file their schools under a private education association. So a private education association is something that's been around for 200 years, and also a private membership association. So a lot of businesses don't file their businesses under that, which is a PMA. They usually file it because we're brainwashed when we go to school that to file our business under an LLC or file it under an S Corp or any other government entity. And when we do that, we're basically handing our businesses to the government. Now, what this does, we actually lose control because we're giving up control to the government. So then they can dictate what you do with your own business, including during a pandemic, tell you to shut down or tell you that you can only have 50% capacity. And if you don't, then they're going to threaten you by taking your liquor license away and everything else. Yeah. But if you're file your business under a PMA, they have no control. They have no jurisdiction whatsoever. They can't tell you to shut down. They can't threaten you. And also, if you want a liquor's license, here's the best part. If you want a liquor's license and you want to open up shop in your own home, or if you have a building on your own property, you can sell liquor to other people. Not that I'm a liquor person, because I'm not, but I'm just using this as an example, right? Because I get a lot of questions about liquor license because a lot of people that I know own restaurants, okay? So I can sell you liquor on my property without having my liquor license, and there's nothing that the government or anybody can do about it. Okay, because you sign a contract with me. So as a business, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Sam's Club and Costco and all that fun stuff, where you go in there and you sign, you become a member of them, right? Of their company. Well, it's kind of like the same ideal. You would become a member of my association. And therefore, there's no liability. There's no, even if you trip and fall and you're in my, there's no way that you can sue me because you signed a contract with me. But I think the main important thing is to remember that it disassociates you from local, federal and local state government, which I think is critical. And that's been around for 200 years. All the wealthy people do it. The Clinton Foundation is one of them. So
that was a PMA. What does that stand for?
PMA is a private membership association.
So you create a membership, right?
Yeah. Another company that does that is Hobby Lobby. Okay.
Okay.
And same with our churches. I'm really hoping that that's something else that I really want to do. I really want to go around to churches and really educate them on how to file, because right now a lot of our churches are filing under a 501 and they need to file under a 508. If they file under a 508, this again, the government will have no jurisdiction. That means they can't dictate to our preachers how they should be preaching the word of God.
Yeah.
Okay. And they too will not be able to shut them down during a pandemic and tell them that they cannot congregate.
So is that what you're finding now? You're becoming more of a consultant since the book's release? Are people reaching out to you?
This is something that I've been educating myself on, and this is something I'm doing on a voluntary basis. It's nothing that I'm getting paid to do, but it's something that in my mind, I'm wanting to create, and I'm wanting to go out there and educate more people. I'm actually one of them. I'm disassociating myself from the school system because in 2019, I started homeschooling my son, Grayson. And at that time, I was just overthinking things. I'm an overthinker. And I used to think that was a bad thing. But now I'm beginning to think that's actually one of my biggest strengths, because if I wasn't an overthinker, I probably wouldn't be diving into all the research that I do, especially with vaccine ingredients and food ingredients and et cetera, and especially now with the PMA and the PEA. So I was going crazy. I was pulling my hair out, trying to figure out like what curriculum do I want my son to be in or to use. And but then I still have to report everything to the school district. I still have to do my quarterly reports. You know, you have, 4 quarterly reports, and then you have the end of year report. And now he's moving on to the 3rd grade. And, there's proctor testing that he would have to be involved with. But then there's certain things, again, that I have to teach him according to the state regulations. Well, the curriculum that's coming out all over the country, you have one that's Bill 818, which was passed in the state of Illinois. This curriculum is a sex education course geared toward kindergarten and 12th graders. And I'm not quite sure if you know what this bill is and what it involves, but it's quite disgusting. And they show pictures, and it comes with a book. And they teach children as young as kindergarten about anal sex and masturbation and things like that. I think that's too far. I think that's, I don't want that coming here. I live in New York. So I also want to start getting more involved. Going to
Well, that's part of the awareness, right? That's part of what you feel called to do, is just bring this to the light, bring it into the light and shine some light on it and let people be informed to be able to make their own decision. I think that's just awesome. That's you're blazing a trail, lady.
Well, Angela, it's interesting. When I was raising my kids in the 80s and 90s, they would always, the school districts would introduce, new curriculum. And if you were against it, or if you had questions about it, or you wanted clarification with something, they would kind of push you to the side. They would try to ignore you as much as possible. And I remember somebody said, well, yeah, but the reason for this curriculum, why it's so necessary, is because parents aren't teaching their kids these things. And I'm like, well, what parents are you talking about? Because I'm teaching my kids those things. I don't need a school to teach my kids those things. I can do that. And it's interesting. That's what they were saying then. That's the reason we needed it, is because parents aren't teaching their kids. Now we've come to this place where the government doesn't even recognize that we as parents have any rights over what our kids are learning. So now it's not just that parents aren't teaching their kids that according to them, but now they've taken over all the control of teaching our kids and taking it completely from the parents. And it's like, we need to wake up here, because something is happening that's a little bit sinister. At least it feels that way to me, that control is taken from parents. In fact, here in where I live in the state of Washington, you have to get permission to give for the school nurse to give your child an aspirin, but you don't have to get permission from the parents if your teenage daughter wants an abortion.
I know.
The parents don't have to know that, but they do have to give you permission if you want to give them an aspirin.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense to me
No.
at all.
I know. I said the same thing because when they were putting these pop-up clinics, in the schools and around the schools, and they're coercing our children as young as 12 to be a part of these experimental injections, they're saying that 12-year-olds don't need their children or don't need their parents' permission, but they still need their parents' permission to go on a field trip.
Right.
It's very sad and it's very disturbing. And so many of us, like you said, like we tend to I think the majority of us tend to just kind of go with the flow. If the government says it's so, then it must be so. But I think that it's so important that we, the people, and I think a lot of people don't quite understand what the Constitution and why the Constitution was written, why the Bill of Rights was written. It's there to protect us against corrupt governments. The PEA, the PMAs, they're there to protect the people, but they don't want us to know that. They don't teach us that, because if we knew about all of this stuff, if we were taught the truth, this right here today would not be happening, because there are more of us than there are of them. And I'm not inciting violence by any means. I'm talking about standing up and saying no. I'm talking about standing up and saying enough is enough. And if the school system wants to dictate how our children are being educated, and they want to bring this, critical race theory where it's actually teaching more hatred, and it's telling white children that they are inherently racist individuals. I think that's gross. I think that's unfair and it's inaccurate. There's got to be a better way.
I think more and more people are waking up to that, and it's people with voices like yours. Are people reaching out to you, Angela? Are you creating?
I do get messages. I get a lot of people who send me things, a lot of people who will send me certain links and then want me to discuss it on my, my Facebook, or I just created a TikTok too, which, I'm one of those parents. I'm one of those people, rather, like I don't like to be in the limelight, but
you have a good voice. I mean, this is what Jackie teaches kids, and kids grasp it pretty quick. Kids get to the understanding that you had, that we don't have a voice and I don't know how to articulate what it is I'm feeling, and those kinds. And Jackie teaches kids to do this, and then their whole world just opens up.
It's so important for children to know that their voices matter. I think, it creates a positive self-perception for them, and having a book that all children can relate to is very critical to their own mental health. And this book, I Am Not Contagious, was something that, I had written on the plane, but was tweaked along the way because of COVID and because my son did get older. So when I got off that plane, I was so excited, but I'm one of those parents who I don't want to be overly excited in front of my children about something, because I want them to be honest about what it is that I'm doing or what it is that I'm showing. I don't want to influence their opinion. Mm-hmm. So when I got off the plane, I came home. I told Grayson what my thoughts were about writing this book, and I wanted his opinion, and he was super excited. I read it to him. He liked it. Of course, at that time, he was just 6 years old. His birthday was in January. So he was about to turn 7, but not quite 7. And then a whole year went by, and then I finally got my author's copy, and I gave it to him to read. And I remember him telling me, he was just like, I'm like, no, it's okay. Go ahead. I want you to be honest. This book is your story. This is about you. He's like, well, actually, I mean, I like the first part of the book, but I think it's a little boring. And I was just like, really? Okay.
Okay.
So you tell mommy, what do I need to do? How do I need to make it more fun? And he likes green eggs and ham. He likes Dr. Seuss. So I was like, okay, so you kind of like that, that kind of rhyming type of feel. And so I was like, all right, let me figure out what I'm going to do. So I actually went to bed that night. I woke up, it was probably around 2:30 in the morning. And again, that same feeling that I had on the plane, I just had like this, this whirlwind of everything. I grabbed my phone and I went to my notes and I wrote the last 3 pages of the book. And the last 3 pages of the book is his letter to Governor Andrew Cuomo.
I saw that.
Yes. And it was everything that he has been saying about how nothing makes sense.
Right.
So I was.
Yeah. And it's a poem. It's written in a rhyme.
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, I was super excited but again, I couldn't go back to sleep because I was so excited. So I'm waiting for Grayson to wake up. I had my coffee and everything, but I'm like, all right, take a deep breath. I don't want to influence his opinion. So I said, okay, so mommy, listen to your instructions. I just want your opinion. You tell me what you think about this. And I want you to be honest because that is super important. And he read it. He read it again and again and again. And this kid read it 12 times.
Wow.
12 times. And even to this day, he goes around, he's reciting it. This makes no sense,
Oh.
And he actually, I was going to hire someone to make an audio for the book. And he came to me, he said, Mommy, why would you do that? I mean, this book is about me. Shouldn't it be, it's my voice. Shouldn't it be my voice? Nice. I said, you know what? You're absolutely right. What am I thinking? So, this right here is an infrared sauna. So, because I don't have a sound studio, I don't have anything fancy. So we turned this sauna into a sound booth. So I put blankets down and I put a microphone in there and we use this program called Audacity. Now,
right.
I use it all the time.
Everybody who knows me knows that I am not a tech savvy person at all. Like it took me all day to figure out the program. Okay. But as part of Grayson's homeschool curriculum, I'm like, okay, this is going to be, all about Grayson. And he learned how to use the Audacity program better than me because his memory is so phenomenal. Yeah. And he was saving the file, creating a new one, and he was piecing everything together. He knew he was counting to 5 and just doing everything so wonderfully. And I say videotape because I'm old, but
you recorded it.
I still say videotape. I recorded it. Yes. And we actually turned it into behind the scenes of how Grayson made the audio of the book.
Oh, fun.
So anyone who takes advantage of getting a free copy of I Am Not Contagious, they're also going to get free access to behind the scenes of how Grayson made the book audio.
How can they do that? I believe it's www.angelapearson.com.
Yeah, or they can go to www.angelapearson.com/book. But either one's going to get them. If they go to the /book, that's going to take them straight to where they can, get a copy of the free book. Because I'm not asking for anything for the book except for help with shipping and help with the cost of the book. I make nothing off of that.
Nice.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And it's great that you got him involved and gave him a voice. That's pretty cool. That will last him the rest of his life.
Yeah, sure. I mean, this whole book and this whole process has been therapeutic for the both of us. Because this has given him a voice, and I think him walking through life itself, I think he just looks at everything a lot differently now.
As a lot of people do, especially when they don't have to agree with you, Angela. They don't, but I think the lesson is for people to pay attention. And I think that's the huge wake up call these days is people, because you described a time, and things evolved because people didn't pay attention. And so decisions had to be made for us. But now we're coming around and people are thinking, well, wait a minute, I don't agree with this. And I think it's a majority of the population is waking up.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's the whole point of this book, because, like you said, this isn't about my beliefs. This isn't about my perspective. This is coming from the perspective of an innocent 6-year-old child who just doesn't understand why he can't go to school and be with his friends when he can be with them every place else. And it's about having compassion on issues that aren't fully understood. Someone may not fully understand why I choose my holistic route, but it's about having compassions on issues. And that is the most important part, because today more than ever, we need to have more compassion for people. That's the only way that we're ever going to find any inner peace or unity. I think that everybody wants to be right. Nobody wants to be wrong. But if we think about how certain things are affecting children, I think that we can somehow figure out how to live in a cohesive manner.
So I'm really curious, Angela, are you still in New York? Are you?
I am. So I don't live in the city. I am upstate. I live in the Syracuse area. So, I mean, the goal is eventually to leave New York. I'm a Southern girl. I love living in the South. My son's father would love to go to Florida. We were just there for a wedding, and it was super hot. But I don't know. South Carolina or Tennessee, right now, the 3 main states I think that align with our beliefs probably is probably Texas, Florida, and Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you know what? We'll see. It's there are pros and cons to everything and to living wherever you go. So it's just about,
I tend to think Washington's a pretty cool place.
Oh yeah? Why? What's it?
Oh, look at Jackie scrunch her nose and wiggle her head. No.
Washington's a beautiful place. But if you're trying to find freedom of choice, it's not in Washington. but it's a beautiful place. And I think that for me, that's the message of your book is freedom of choice. It is that parents don't pit against other parents saying, I love my child more because I choose to do this, and you must love your child less because you don't. That to me is the core of the message that I got from your book. And with America being such a diverse, wonderful place to live, we have shut down voices that might be contrary to our own. And it's a shame because we all need to appreciate everybody else's message.
And
we
opinions.
Don't have to agree with it. We don't have to disagree with it, but we can be better human beings when we take the time to listen and try to understand the opposite viewpoint and appreciate where that person is coming from, the perspective that they have. Mm-hmm. That's what we're missing now. And I think even through the pandemic, there's been such an emphasis on the ravages of the disease for some people that, the virus definitely is killing people, right? I mean, people get it. If they have a comorbid health situation, they're more likely to have a problem with this particular virus. And I understand that, and it's good that that's being reported because we need to know. Mm-hmm. What's not being talked about, however, is all of the people who are surviving it. Mm-hmm. Why are they surviving it? Is it because of health conditions there too? Is it? And so when this first started, there was no government official I heard that came out and said, you know what, if you have a strong immunity system, then you're going to be less likely to be affected by this and you're going to be able to fight this off. So Don't close down the gyms. Keep those open so that people can go exercise. They can maintain health. Let's reiterate what does healthy diet look like, you know? What do people need to be eating? What's going to help their immune system be strong? There was nothing like that coming out. And so for me, it's always been so one-sided. It's the fear, it's the coercion to go a certain way or to think a certain way, and closing down the thoughts and the ideas that would have actually combated a lot of this.
You know,
and so I'm with you there, Angela, for sure.
you know, you made a lot of great points. You hit like every nail on the head. Like I couldn't have said everything that you just said even better than that. I think that, you know, what we're seeing is they don't want us to know about zinc. They don't want us to know about vitamin D. You know, listen, they cannot put a patent on natural medicines. They can't put a patent on things that grow from earth. Okay, they can only put a patent on synthetic products, which is why if you see like things like essential oils or anything that's growing from the earth, they have to put on there that this, you know, it's not approved by the FDA and blah 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 blah. Okay, now a lot of people get scared because it's not approved by the FDA. But I just want to remind people that just because it's approved by the FDA does not make it safe, okay? Because here's why. There's been a European study on dyes, okay? Yellow number 5 specifically, okay? So this European study had proved that these artificial dyes wreak havoc on our GI tract and has been linked to colon cancer. So it was banned in Europe. They brought this study to the FDA. The FDA refuted it and said that there wasn't enough evidence to prove that. So we continue to use it. Do you know what they put that in? They put that in our vaccine.
Margarine. Oh.
They put that in our vaccines, okay? And all of our foods. You see any kid licking a lollipop or, you know, these slushies or anything like that in cakes, they put it in our cakes.
Wow.
And this is wreaking havoc on our GI tract. And we wonder why we see cancer rising, especially childhood cancer. Children under 5 should not have cancer. They haven't been here that long. So let's do a study. How many of those children were vaccinated? Okay. What does those children's diets look like? This is very critical because I want to know how many children under the age of 5 have not been vaccinated. And
there's a lot of information.
It's very fascinating that you have over in Europe how they're banning everything. And they bring it to the FDA and the FDA goes, well, you know what, it's fine. But the FDA also buys aborted fetuses too, that a lot of people don't know, but the information's there. You just have to look for it.
I don't think the COVID vaccines are FDA approved, are they? They're only for emergency use.
Yep.
Only for emergency use. And that's why a lot of doctors don't, or even scientists, the ones who are speaking out against them, that's why they don't like to call them vaccines, because they're just experimental injections. And you take the Moderna and you take the Pfizer vaccine, they have been cultured in HEK-293. Now, what the heck is that? You know what I mean? And well, that is aborted fetal tissue. Okay. And
oh my goodness, ladies. I got to stop you right there, Angela. You are just full of it, lady. No, I'm just kidding. I get the sense that there's another book in you.
I did. I already did it. It's on Amazon. And you know, I wasn't consistent with my faith for a long time, and I just felt called upon to write a journal.
We're gonna have to have you back. We only have about 3 minutes left, and I want to make sure I have time to thank you for showing up as you. Thank you for giving a big voice to a lot of people, even though you feel a little constrained to put it out there. I think you're going to grow. I think you're going to grow a little bit more and stand up and really speak your voice. I think it's really cool. Thank you so much for showing up as you today.
Thanks, Todd. Thanks, Jackie. And I like that we're wearing our blue glasses.
Yeah, we're awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
And if your new book is out, we'll definitely love to have you back. I think there's so much more to talk about. Give us a teaser. What's your new book about?
It's a journal for women. It's Jesus loves you. It's really just a reminder, it's an affirmation, reminding women how special they are, and how God loves them. And it's a 100-page journal.
Nice.
Send us a copy.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have you back. We'll have you back and see how that's going for you. Jackie, any takeaways? Did you have fun today? You had fun today. Angela, I got to ask you that. Did you have fun today?
Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. You guys are such a breath of fresh air.
Very cool. Thank you.
Great to meet you.
You too.
Good luck to Grayson as well.
Thank you.
Any eye openers, Jackie?
I think we're out of time, aren't we?
Oh,
I think we're out of time.
it says 3 minutes. Oh, maybe we are.
Well, we
Thank
are.
you for tuning in.
1
Come
minute.
back again next week. Yeah, our engineer wasn't giving us time. Coming back again next week, we have a really cool guest set up for you. Check out Angela's book, check out Angela's website. And lastly, please, please, please make it a great day, because as Angela will tell you, it's all about choice.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
Bye-bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Life Mastery with Todd Allen, the talk radio show that dives into the science of higher consciousness. Join Todd and his guests weekly at 10 a.m. Pacific Time and learn how to live a peaceful life. For more information on Todd and his guests, visit his website at www.lifemasteryradio.net. That's www.lifemasteryradio.net.